Hi, welcome to the Oracle Sessions, and I've got a card that I'm going to share with you in a moment that I use to sort of send uplifting, high vibe messages so that you can tune in and connect with things that will just start to raise the way you feel. You can feel happier, more abundant, joyful. And if you're in a state that's not like that, then of course it can feel really difficult to even entertain that as an idea. So as I said in previous videos, I don't bypass people's experiences. Is sometimes we're going through some really dark times for all sorts of reasons, whether that's our own mental health and well-being or real pressures within the family, changes at work, or much bigger things like, you've lost someone, losing a job, relationship, anything like that. So, but in terms of finding things to inspire you in those moments you've got in the day and in the week that can just even give you some respite. Sometimes I chat to my clients, so I'm a psychologist and psychotherapist and coach, and I teach yoga and meditation, so I work with people of all different backgrounds. And sometimes what I say to them when times are really tough and you're going through a lot of struggles, you just have to think about the moments you can have some respite, whether that is having a cup of tea, sitting by the window and just having 10 minutes of just mindfulness and meditation where you just focus on something else instead for that 10-15 minutes. You have a break from the kids, they're at school, you've got half an hour before you go and pick them up. Don't scroll on your phone, sit and listen to some really relaxing or inspiring music. Have a 20-minute power nap. Think about something that you can do today or tomorrow that makes you feel great. I've got some time off this afternoon before I got clients later on this evening, and I get out and do some of the really simple things that I enjoy. And the more that you pep your life with these moments, the more the magic starts to appear, and you can start to feel happier, healthier, wealthier, more abundant. Now, the card that I've pulled is relationships are assignments. Now, lots of people don't realise that we're sold this idea of relationships through all the films and the sort of Hollywood spin on meeting the man of your dreams and get married, walking down the aisle and falling happily in love, and everything is bliss afterwards. And yet I was listening to a podcast, not to put doom and gloom on it, with a divorce lawyer in America, and he said it's one of the things that people do, and yet 55% of people within a few years are divorced and spending a lot of money on lawyers trying to get out of that contract that they agreed to. But if you can see, even the most challenging of relationships can often be something that is a learning experience for us. Sometimes relationships bring out the best in us, but they can also bring out the worst in us. They can bring out those aspects of ourselves that we've not dealt with or handled from our relationships with our own families. I used to see this at work a lot, that if you did group work, you'd often see that people would attract people into those groups that had very similar traits to people in their family. So of course would be triggered quite a lot, and part of the journey is becoming more aware of how you experience yourself, how you experience the world, and then how you experience interacting with the different people you come into contact with. And there's nothing like people who we have intimate relationships with, or people around us that we're close to trigger us more than we might find those challenges at work. Although if anyone like me has had a boss that sits on the narcissism spectrum, because everything's a spectrum, some people have more traits or less traits, then they'll know that it can be incredibly challenging and can really impact your mental health, well-being, self-esteem, self-worth, self-value. And that's one of the problems with sometimes staying in situations too long, is the impact that relationship has on you can really impact your health long term. And we know through satisfaction studies that have been done in the UK that the more that people have an increase in well-being, which means that you explore all the different facets of your life and increase how you feel about those: work, relationships, spirituality, money, career, friendships, all those different facets, the more that you increase your satisfaction levels in many of those areas, the more that your well-being increases overall in general. And that has a direct impact. It's actually saying it in the research, a direct impact on your longevity in terms of how long you live, and whether or not you're going to activate any of the sort of illnesses and diseases that is more likely within your family lineage. Because when we look at epigenetics, we can see that our DNA has traces of codes and information that is ancestral. So we're at risk, as in we can, if we don't alter our lifestyle, activate those cells in the body that can cause us illness and distress. And on the opposite end of the scale, the more that we work towards the things that make us feel good, having harmonious relationships, feeling peace more of the time, having time out to do the things that we love and the hobbies that we've got, the more that that contributes to our overall well-being. But not enough people do that. I see this in my therapy work. There's not enough people take responsibility or even accountability for their own happiness, let alone actually carving out time and making some sacrifices on some things to make sure that they get themselves into a better state of health and well-being. So for some people, and this is quite a common phrase in the spiritual circles, that relationships are assignments. You know, so if you've got project management skills, you'll know that you know, when we enter into a new project, we have to all agree what the terms and conditions of that project is, and you know, how much money we're going to invest in that. Just like relationships, we invest time and we invest money, we invest mental energy, hope, faith, all of those experiences, and we aim to enjoy being with that person and them enjoy being with us, and to have a great relationship. But many people walk into them without really realising what their own history and how that still influences them. And like all good projects, you've got to kind of meet people, build relationships, work with the feelings that are activated in you when you're irritated about things, try and negotiate terms and conditions, realise what your hard no's are and what your definite yeses are. And as you meet someone over the course of a few meetings or a few dates, it's really about getting to know where they're coming from, what their beliefs and values are, what they value in life, what they love to do, just as you want someone to do that with you. Now, many people go into dates and not even thinking about those things. You know, they're busy falling into this illusion and delusion of the Hollywood idea of what it means to meet someone, fall in love and walk down the aisle. But actually that's just the beginning, and we need a varying range of skills that either are activated within a decent relationship, where you learn to communicate, where you learn to listen, where you learn to talk about the things that really matter, and you learn to highlight any of the things that are going on that really do mean something to you. Because sometimes we've got to choose our fights and choose what we get really wrapped up in, and that takes trust. It takes two people committing to working on that plan together. And like all good projects, you know, you have to plan, do, as in action, and then review that. How's that going? What's working? Are you giving too much to one thing and your focus needs to be somewhere else? Are giving yourself time and time out to rest, relax, recoup? Are you sleeping well, drinking enough water, eating the right kind of food? Are you getting exercise? Are you getting the stress out your body? Are you going running, cycling? Are you lighting up your life and doing the things that you love? Are you feeling good? Are you listening to music that makes you want to jump around and feel ecstatic? Are you getting moments of ecstasy and joy and happiness and fun and lighter stuff? And if you're not, if 80% of your relationship is dark, it's dismal, it affects your self-esteem, you're walking on eggshells and you don't feel good, and you can communicate what's going on for you, and that other person isn't listening or even using it as a tool and a weapon against you, and they're weaponizing the different things that you've told them and harnessing and capitalizing on your vulnerabilities, then we're on a whole different spectrum. We're not on a healthy relationship. We're on a relationship that takes people into dark spaces, and I'll talk about those on other videos. But anyone who's connecting with any of those words that I just spoke, know there's a big difference between a relationship that's going through some conflict and a relationship that really is toxic, and one that you should really consider walking away from. But, and this can be really annoying, because if you start to see those relationships as assignment, when we leave relationships, we can feel like a victim. This didn't happen, that happened, I tried this, I tried that, why does this always happen? And I read a lot of that kind of stuff on Quora, about people who've come out even very damaging relationships. But at the end of the day, we chose to have a relationship with that person. We chose to continue seeing somebody that whose behaviours may initially have been questionable, and as time went on, those things started to really impact our health and well-being. And we've all made mistakes. We've all done things in relationships that we can look back on and say, wow, if I'd have known better. And if your intention is good and your heart is good and you're trying your best, it doesn't matter who you're dating. If you're dating somebody that really isn't going to put in the work, make a difference, and try to do something differently to make something work, rather than coming from that own idea about what everything should look like, then there's a challenge then. And some of the work that I do with clients is really getting them to think about whether they are early on in dating, whether they're halfway through a relationship, relationship's well established. They've spent maybe 6 months together. They know each other quite well. Unless there's a lot of distance in the relationship, then it takes a bit longer to establish the foundations of a relationship, because foundations are always sort of being challenged if people are in long distance relationships, or somebody's got a job working away. But in average, once that relationship's fairly established, it's then about for some people, when is it time, how many conflicts, how many things can you have going on that you don't like, that you're discussing? How does the person respond to some of the concerns that you raise? Are you always rowing? What do you feel about rowing and conflict? A certain amount of conflict is good, but over time, too much conflict wears you down and impacts your total sense of well-being. And when other areas of your life are being affected, your relationship, your kids or your friends or your work colleagues, and you've also got to try and have a full-time job and do everything else, then those relationships aren't really supporting you to thrive. They are taking you down the deep dive of something sometimes more insidious. But all relationships now, not just love relationships or friendships, family relationships are some of the most challenging. And sometimes we have to learn to accept that that's who people are, how much time we choose to spend with them, how we spend that time, what we do when we're in that time, and respect that some people have some limitations on what they're able to offer, rather than us constantly sinking into this idea of this idealized notion of, if only they were like this, if they weren't so, if they rang me up more, if they did more, if they said it like this and did it like that instead. Sometimes we have to learn to accept that people are where they are, but we also have to be aware of not holding them with the same attitude and assumptions that we experienced them in a year ago, because people change. Not everyone, but people changes. And it's your responsibility to decide who you spend time with, where you share your energy, how much time you spend with the different people you come into contact with, and how much of that time is fun and uplifting and adds to your life, and how much time you give to people who need you for certain moments. If you've only got friends who call you when they're in a state or distress, you should be really giving them the number of a therapist or a coach, because you don't want that 24/7. It's good to be there for people sometimes. It's good to be there for close, intimate relationships, but they've also got to do the work. They've got to start doing things that make a difference to their health, their mental health, their well-being overall. So relationships are assignments. I probably will do some more videos around this. I've got a website, a Facebook page, where I've released a lot of articles on there about the various types of relationships and some of the tools and skills that are needed. But fundamentally, if you're in a relationship where you keep communicating what you need and expressing yourself, and you're getting to a place where you just feel totally, not heard, not valued, not validated, and you're not seeing any sort of small changes, and they don't seem to be receptive to welcoming you as the person that you are now and what you've grown into, and that isn't seen as a threat, but it's seen as, you know, a joyful thing to witness someone's growth and their personal development, then it might be time to question that. If it's abusive and incredibly toxic and you are losing your sense of self and questioning your mentality, then you have to get out and seek support from domestic abuse services and somebody who is actually skilled, a therapist or coach who is actually skilled at working with toxic relationships. And if you want any links, I'm going to put some links under this video when I upload it later for a few courses out there that people I know are doing. There's actually a lawyer in America, and she works with people who are in toxic relationships all the time, and she's creating a community now for people to be able to get some proper advice, proper skills and experience, not just from people who've had the experience, because we need to know how to manage some of those situations. So go to my YouTube page, like and subscribe, and I hope you enjoyed listening to this. And I'm sorry it's in the dark because it's actually sunny out there, but it's also freezing cold, and I'm quite light sensitive, so I wear my darker glasses at occasions like this. Thanks for listening.